Present via Zoom. Aye. Aye.
I'd like to thank the police and the fire for the driving around and making sure everyone had a wonderful Halloween. It turned out to be a beautiful day. The police and the fire were waving all the kids, and they did happen to wave to me, so I appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. All the other departments, Department of Public Works and Clerk Treasurer's Office, want to thank you for doing a great job too. And please be careful and safe and wear your mask.
Eric.
I have nothing.
Bob.
Yeah, a couple things. One, I wanted to, Jeff, you're behind. There you are. But I wanted to make sure you and your team knows that I'm giving my thanks. I've seen them out every day getting leaves, and some of the weather has been fantastic. Some has not been, and they've been doing a great job. So just want your folks to know, residents appreciate that. As for any other reports, I'll save it for discussion down the road. I do have one question. The executive session that we postponed, was that canceled or just postponed? Meaning, are we still able, or are we still able to take that time this evening to discuss these the salary ordinance in executive session?
It's been postponed till another date.
Okay.
Well, we can all get together.
Okay.
Alan?
I also would just like to thank all our veterans. Thanks for their service. We greatly appreciate it.
Microphone.
That's better. I would like to thank all the residents and all of our employees. As I drive around and I see the road closures and things moving around, and I think everybody has done a remarkable job, particularly people on the south end to do with the bridge closing. And on the north end, because of the fire station, people have had to make other plans to drive around places. So we wanted to thank all the residents and particularly our employees for that. Clerk Treasurer, do you have anything?
Yes, I have 2 donations. One for the fire department for the chief, from $100 and $100.
Motion to accept the donation.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Bob,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Al?
I just want to clarify, Adam, with Adam voting electronically, it's only during the executive orders by the governor, but when we're back on track, is that allowed anymore when it's all
When the
done?
executive, depending on what the new executive order issues, assuming it's just, we're done, it normally goes back to where he can attend, but he can't vote.
Okay.
And then I did misspeak earlier, you do test the tie breaking vote in the event of a tie.
And my other question was, if we were an executive, would you be able to electronically do an executive meeting? How does that work?
The executive order actually doesn't speak to that. I would recommend against it just because the risk of people listening in on an electronic executive session is higher, and that would defeat the closed purpose of the meeting.
That's all that I have.
Thank you. Town manager?
This afternoon, we've gotten an inquiry. This is regarding the Hart Street Bridge. There's a delay because of the weather. They've asked if we would be amenable to a full closure for one day. And we're talking about probably a Saturday of next week so they can get asphalt down, but Saturday would be the least amount of traffic or be able to get people going. We try to get this thing done. The other option, which is, I'm not opposed to it, but it is less desirable, is to just put binder down and then come back in the spring, but you're going to have mobilization costs and other expenses. So we get one more day, and it's hopefully the weather's good, or they just delay it till another time when the weather's good. But you still get paving done by through the end of November. They're just trying to get into that window.
Sure.
I gave you the schedule that we had the other day, and this just came up literally this afternoon. So if nobody's against it, I'll respond back that we're good with a closure on a Saturday is our preference.
Yeah. Yep. Just make sure that we tell everybody in town that it's going to be closed for the
Well,
day.
we will.
And
We
you're
get
good
the
about
thing.
doing
That's
that.
there. Yeah, we'll put it up on the signs.
Okay, Tom, is that what consideration for the traffic cutting through the neighborhood now?
Pardon?
Will the traffic be taken, the only way out would be through that neighborhood? Was that?
Well, the traffic would be detoured. They're going to set up a detour down the 77th, but you know as well as I do.
I'm asking, are they going to be able to use that neighborhood for a shortcut to get around the bridge if it's down and so you can block it at 77th. I'm concerned about all the residents who north of 77th go north on the street and come up to that, and they're going to go through that street unless it's blocked off.
Well, those streets will be blocked off, saying you can't go north on that.
Well, how will the neighbors who live on those streets, Dondor, Oak, all of those streets they got to go all the way around and come back on 30?
Yeah, because we'll be able to go north.
Okay, then we should get that mapping out.
Well, that'll be up to them to get a map out for the people in signage. We'll do what we can, but we're not in charge. Remember, it's not our project. It's not our detour. But we'll work with them.
Yep. And I think for one day, people will find their own way.
Detours. If it's rainy, they may not go out at all. Who knows? But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's better than a work day, I think, if we could do it on a Saturday.
Town attorney, do we have anything?
Just an update on the Hammond water rate situation. The Hammond City Council vote is scheduled for this coming Monday, the 16th. I anticipate it's going to pass. I am coordinating with the attorneys for Highland, Munster, and Griffith in pooling our resources to get an action on file to challenge the projected increase in court. I don't know if Whiting's going to be on board with us or going alone. I can answer any questions about that if you have them.
Should be an interesting meeting.
It always is. And then we have 5 days to file the objection after the action. So this is going to move pretty quickly once the vote actually occurs.
Okay. Is that it?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Boards and commissions. Pat McGrath is here from Plan. Nothing? Frank?
We're just kind of working on the water side, working our way through the bond issue components from the, I guess, the engineering side, legal and financial, of course, of which there's an item of that on your agenda tonight. So everyone's busy doing that, as well as even the council. On the sanitary side, basically our line repair projects were completed, and it's just basically restoration work that remains on that. And I believe on the phosphorus project, the application was sent downstate. That's the phosphorus removal project. item had some comments. Those comments have been responded to and waiting for item's approval, hopefully. And then once that happens, we'll be able to, have that permit and put it out for bid. So that one's pretty much on schedule with what the schedule that was put out, a few months ago regarding that project. So that's it.
Thank you. Nan, Parks?
The park board has been doing a fantastic job. We've got a lot of things on our plate, but on the bright side, next year we will only have one meeting per month, in which we will have a meeting and a study session. And so we're hoping that that will work out well for everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Department heads. Chief?
Thank you. Halloween was already mentioned earlier, but just like to confirm that the Halloween patrol went off without a hitch. No incidents during that time, and saw a pretty decent amount of trick-or-treaters out there. Forwarded their pictures to us with squad cars. It was a very, very nice event, and the community really needed a nice weathered night. LPR is virtually rounding the final curve that we have here. We should be implementing some training within the next week, and we should be able to go live before the end of November here. Unless there's any specific questions on that, I would defer the technical side to Frank, but we look like we'll be up and live in the month of November here.
Good.
Yeah, the systems, essentially from a technical standpoint, operational, the issues, fortunately, were all resolved in their last site visit. There's still some adjustment to cameras, looking at the different plate captures on US 30 that we're going to go ahead and make some adjustments to that, but it does not prevent the system from operating.
Okay.
So we'll be doing those additional calibrations as we move forward with the system. But otherwise, from a technical standpoint, we
have a fundraiser at VFW Saturday from 3 to 8. They're volunteered to sell our canine shirts, so I'd like to give a plug for that. They have an event at the local VFW 3 to 8, and you can come out and get canine unit supporter shirts and T-shirts.
How much are they?
They are $20 a T-shirt, 2 for $30.
Okay.
And there are also hoodie sweatshirts available there as well.
Okay. Thank you.
The proceeds go to support the canine unit. So, body cams as a department, we've kind of fast tracked this program and put it ahead of a lot of other items that were on a priority list. We've got a final countdown. We've got some quotes in, been working with the IT department. We believe that we are within range to pull the trigger on this program and have something implemented by January 1st, as long as there's no hiccups. We have to get a general order created. We have to get some training done, but we believe that this is a program that we're going to put to the top of our wish list at this point. I would imagine in November, a mock general order will be created and approved by the police commission. The financial side of it will come to the council for their support, along with Tom's input, and go from there. It's a program that we've always had. We had it at probably spot number 3. We've had car cameras first. We've had other internal technology first, but we believe at this point that we would like to get it fast tracked up to our number 1 at this point. And have a meeting set with the clerk treasurer here within the next couple of days. We'll set one so that we can go over our final budget so we can come in with some great numbers again this year.
Good. That's it?
That's it, sorry. Yep.
Bob, anything from fire?
We defer to the chief's report, and we do have a couple tablets already working in the truck, so that's a great thing.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Right now we are leak packing around the town. Now with the holiday today and next Thursday and Friday Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at the end of the month. We'll throw our schedule up a little bit, but just let everybody know that we will go to the town multiple times in different areas. So again, even if we're doing leak packing on the schedule on Monday, we may be on Tuesdays abroad as well.
Sure.
Monday, so we will definitely get that everything all taken care of throughout the town before the end of the month. We're also getting the trucks all ready for winter.
Yeah.
getting the trucks ready for the winter time and again, just getting that stuff kind of ready. So that's all we're doing right now.
You're talking snow plows, aren't you?
Yes.
Thank you.
All that stuff, yes.
Thank you. Mike?
With the park board side, with Central Park still going on as scheduled. Next part of the project will be installing the wells for the irrigation system over on the north side. Otherwise, we started with, or we're going to be starting with our next 5-year master plan, starting in 2022. We'll be starting at the beginning of the year, coming up. And then otherwise, still working on our 2 other projects that we have contracts with. That's with Autumn Chase Park improvements, that is with the land and water grant that we should be getting. And then Cherry Hill and Pheasant Hill Park improvement projects. Our park board engineers working on.
There are a lot of people out in Pheasant Hills Park anymore. See them all the time, which is good.
Well, yeah.
Actually getting used.
Yeah, which is good.
That's it?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Neil?
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have the 2020 local resurfacing paving projects. Those are complete. We have punch list items remaining. And same thing for patching that's should be completed. Sheffield 81st, we've given the county the easements that they need to acquire, and they're working through their attorneys, so I'm sure it'll be quick. Northgate, we're working for the CCMG project, the final change order, final pay request, and then we'll move forward with the NDOT closeout on that project. And then LTAP, the phasers about 80% complete. We need to have that submitted by December 1st so that they can review and approve our asset management plan, which will get us through 2021 calendar year for all our CCMG applications. Any questions?
Looks good though for CCMG, doesn't it? Yes.
Yeah, and we did get that 2020-2 application in
Right.
on time, and we're impatiently awaiting their input.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 2020-10 appropriating proceeds from the GO bond, second reading. So we need a motion to suspend the rules?
You've
No.
already read it
Second
once.
reading.
This is
Okay.
the second reading only.
Do we have a motion to approve ordinance 2020-10 appropriating proceeds of the GO bond?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
The only question that I have is for these projects here, these are still projects that will come before the council as they do them, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you'll be making bid awards.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, Bob, I was in the same spot. Some of these, I just want to make sure that these are, I mean, we're talking that we might have budget deficits. No one knows what's going to happen with revenue due to COVID. I'd like to make sure that when we talk interior renovations, furnishings, things like that, that we're doing only critical work if that's what's necessary.
We will bring you those projects before they go out to bid. And you'll have to make a bid award after the bid. Okay.
Is it possible to add to the public facility improvements list? I'd also like to add some audio technical upgrades into this main meeting room. I still get complaints. I get some compliments from people that they're happy that we're doing the live streaming, but I get complaints that people at
You can do that
at the
outside of
podium,
the bond issue.
it doesn't have to be included in here to be included in the
I've got
proceeds.
other funds for that.
Also, interior renovations is a rather broad.
Broad category.
Perfect.
so.
Pretty general.
Well, that's my concern with interior
Yeah.
renovations being listed.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Aye.
Mary,
Aye. Next, we have ordinance 2020-16 approving the issuance of the park district bonds on first reading.
You need 2 reads for this one. So you can
Yes.
waive the rules.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules and approve it, ordinance 2020-16 on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye, it was a 5-0 reading. Next, we have Resolution 2020-20 approving the issuance of water district bonds. A motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-20.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Thank you. It's a 5-0 vote. Next, we have Town Hall renovations, boiler replacement quote.
This is the replacement of the existing boiler, which is the original equipment. And it's well past its useful life. It's a standalone project outside of all the other renovations. And this is the price for it. It came in under our estimate, and we'd ask that you do that. There are funds available to do this.
We have a motion to approve the Town Hall renovations.
If the boiler breaks, this is not a want kind of a project. If the boiler breaks down, we're going to have to replace it. We
necessity.
don't want to replace it under those conditions. I wish we could have got it done in the summertime, but we couldn't. But so that's really what it's for. We've talked about supplemental heating. We have you notice in the office, we've got those wall units. That will generally suffice most circumstances, and it should be just, hopefully you get it in and you get 2 small units. They're much more energy efficient, which is positive. And it'll cut down our natural gas expenses. So this is one of the projects we had listed from a couple of years back.
I'll make a motion that we award the quote for the installation of boiler replacement to Circle R Mechanical in the amount of $105,900.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so explain, please, the difference between the base quote 1 and the alternative quote 1.
It was a rerouting of some of the sheet metal work, and the low bidder already had that into their. We already got the credit, so it was in their bid. So it's just a way of routing these the flue. That's the word I was looking for. It's got nothing to do with upstairs. It's a downstairs thing.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, so that's $105,900 for this,
Correct.
as opposed to the $107,900, which did not have the,
That was the base bid, and by the alternate, they gave us a deduct. See, the other guy gave us $875 credit, and the other 3 gave us nothing. So we got
okay.
$2,000 credit is what we got.
Just want to make sure we know what we're voting on.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye. Next, we have the salary ordinance modifications. You have before you explanation of the salary ordinance explanation.
I'd like to make a motion to table this until the next plenary meeting with an executive session between now and then, because we have some, they aren't necessarily policy changes, but they are changes to individual personnel salary. And I'd like to talk about that as a council.
Second that.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Nay.
Aye.
Mary.
Nay. 3-2 vote.
Could we set the now?
Yes, that's fine.
I know Bob is going to be out of town in December. Today's the 11th. The 25th is the day before Thanksgiving, is in 2 weeks. The second would be, we've got that meeting with NERC. Yes, look at your calendars. We'll try to fit it in.
We have to figure out a day when all of us can physically
my
be present. That's the issue.
Tom, when will we be reviewing the entire salary ordinance?
Well, obviously, when we get this done, there isn't much more to do to the ordinance. I mean, the ordinance is pretty much, once you decide on these adjustments, even for Public Works will just incorporate what we proposed if you agree to that and everything else. And then I told you in here I had to fill in some of the other blanks, some of the other employees. But my initial thoughts are there's a 4% adjustment in the budget, but it would be 3% across the board and 1% would cover all these other adjustments, including helping out with. You remember we gave PD a January adjustment, so we included that into next year's costs. So that's the idea. We'd have generally a 3% across the board. And whatever you did with these specialized things or special, if you would, is what we're doing. In Public Works, you're changing a more of a philosophical thing, with the exception of a few people. I mean, the rank and file have got a completely different way of achieving the higher grades. We have put a preference on the CDL as you wait for you to get up to a higher level. It's with CDL and without CDL. Well, if I'm a treatment plant operator or something like that, CDL isn't that important. All the CDL does is let you drive the bigger trucks. But if I've got a bunch of technical licenses for the plant and the water and all the, we want to reward people for that because it makes it more personal. So Jeff, I think, has worked out a good balancing act so that I don't have to get a CDL. Because part of the problem, we got some guys who get medically, I have sleep apnea. I can't get a CDL. And if I had a CDL and get diagnosed with sleep apnea, I'm out.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things. So we don't want to put people in that kind of a pickle. So, but my plan is to have the ordinance ready. And I guess one of the things we need to talk about is what our schedule is going to be for the rest of the year.
Correct.
Because
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so am I, sir. Sorry for that. 18th is Storm Board. Second is the NICD thing till 7:30. The 9th, Bob is going to be gone. And we got the 16th and the 23rd.
16th looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be Storm Board, but we can adjust them.
Okay.
If we have the executive session ahead of that time, that would be helpful.
Sure. When is everybody available? What time?
And that you could pretty much just figure out a time. I mean, figure if we have a meeting conflict, that meeting starts at 6, so if we can meet earlier, people could get here on a different night. It doesn't have to be necessarily a Wednesday, whatever's convenient for you.
Executive can be any time. You just have to notice it.
The people with work schedules.
Yeah, so 16th is open, but for the other ones, I'm going to have to check all my other schedules. Can we just send in a couple appropriate dates that are free?
Yeah.
Then we can sort of line them all up with everyone.
Sure.
Yeah, we find out when no one's able to come back.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
And I'll finish up what I talked about in the memo of not having gotten done yet.
Okay.
So we'll get working on all that stuff.
Thank you. Next, we have the Pencey Dyer Trail.
This is just an unfortunate FYI.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed, but not surprised by the low score. When I talked about keep plugging along. Biggest problem here is just dealing with Enbridge. getting that right away.
Right.
I don't care if we had to build it ourselves, but we just can't get the right away. So even if I was hoping that by doing this and working with, in this case, Cherville with the other connection missing piece, it might help. But this is our joint score. We had a meeting last Thursday, and if you want to see some cutthroat action, we tried to claim points for being close to a school. The rule is a quarter mile. They extend it to a half a mile, so we claimed Kaler. It was 400 feet outside the half mile. Man, we had 3 guys on Google Maps doing the measuring thing. There's, when you're talking about money, there's no love lost from anybody.
Right.
But I wanted you to think about, and this is something we'll be working on and talking about. I mean, in the comp plan, we do have a framework of things. And I think we need to plan, Neil and I talked a little bit about it. We need to get, okay, these are our first couple of shots. Let's get them built. And I'm talking, if you look at the things I'm talking about in here related to the water main work and stuff like that, which, we'll get done next year. And then we can go back in, because I've talked to the storm board. Once we get rid of the main on the south side of the street,
Right.
we can get that whole mess cleaned up, put a bike path in, do a little storm drainage work around the entrance where we got some swales and stuff. A little bit like we did on Hart and just south of 77th, where we extended the sidewalk, or are extending the sidewalk. We get some drainage in there, and then we can tie it into the Pencey path that's there. And then so now you've got a connection from the Pencey path going both north and south.
Yeah.
And that's a good link. And then we get that thing back to Calumet, I think, get it to 213th, get you into Central Park. And then Calumet Avenue, I mean, it's not perfect, but there's a sidewalk over on Calumet Avenue. The big hurdle, of course, is getting across 30 if you're on the south side of the tracks. But we should work on paths on both sides of the tracks, getting people to places that are there, and then work on the long-term stuff. Because if you think this is long off, wait till we ask for a couple $1 million for an overcrossing, crossing and stuff like that. And we obviously have to have our local max lined up. And that, quite frankly, we're not going to have we're going to have some more discretionary TIF money in like 24 for 25 after we get the tail end of a couple of bond issues. So you'll have more money you'll be able to put into projects that are benefiting the TIF area. And the crossings on 30 are those kinds of projects.
That'd be a great project.
And we'll see where we end up with them at and stuff like that. But, when we do the 2-stage ditch, we put a recreational trail on that. And that'll and you build it in segments. It's kind of like the thing you see from IKEA, a big pile of stuff, and there's your house. You build it in segments, then you start tying the segments together, and it takes a long time, but we haven't built anything, so we're starting from scratch. And unfortunately, the trail money is not as easy it was to get as it was back in the 80s when, I always said the biggest mistake I ever made in Muncie was only asked for $3.5 million. I should have asked for $7 because we were the head of the line, and they gave us everything we wanted. And we said, we could have done a lot more, but that's how you got to do it. But remember, you got to come up with 20 cents on the dollar, so you got to have your local match. So we'll keep plugging. I understand we want to make it a high priority. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, every survey that I've seen, and anytime you're knocking on doors, that's the number one recreational ask that our residents have is the ability to walk and bike.
Yeah. Moving right along to new business, we have the Lake Central School Corporation request.
Before you do that, could I interrupt respectfully? Neil?
Yes, Neil.
Could I just supplement very briefly something that Tom had mentioned? We looked at that scoring in our office this morning, and if not for the things that we have no control over with this project, on the corridor priority, the school's comment, and the visionary corridor would have 82 points.
Yeah.
It would have been right on top. But those things are outside of our control. So I think given our score based on those things that we can't do anything about, we're there. But it just shows you the big point swing between the the 55 and the 82 that we were able to.
Yeah.
I think moving forward in that direction of building second and getting to that point where
Welcome. We do have a NERC meeting on the 19th too, but it's a Zoom meeting, but we'll see what they say. Moving
This will
right
be done
along.
in January, I think, with these scores, the next time they're gonna be brought up.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have the Lake Central School Corporation request. We would like to have the council agree to an 80% reimbursement from Lake Central School Corporation for the school resource officers for 2020 and 2021 school year, approximate $35,876.
I'll make that motion to approve.
A second,
Second.
any discussion? Roll call, please.
Abstain.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye. Next, we have transfer from MVH restricted to MVH regular. We'll be asking you to authorize a transfer of $134,434.29 from MVH restricted to MVH regular.
I've talked before about when they put the gas tax, the 10-cent gas tax in,
Yes.
they split how they fund the locals. And they got the regular MBH, and then they have this restricted fund. So we get this money, then we have to divide it 50-50 and put it into that. The restricted fund is just like it says. It's got specific uses that you can and specific uses that you cannot use it from. So Jeff and I have gone through, we've been working on this for over the years. And he came up this year with a good way to we documented our people. And it's essentially 2 full-time equivalent employees and all their benefits, as well as supplies and other kinds of things that we take out. But this transfer is essentially just personnel. So
Okay.
it'll be as a cash transfer from restricted up to MBH, which will help their budget. Okay, so that's what and they'll have this every year.
You have a motion to approve.
So move.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Roll call.
Bob,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Alan,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any and all. Any's and alls.
I would like to make one comment to the employees of the town. My request to further delay any salary inequity adjustments has nothing to do with their performance, but everything to do with the inability of the council to get together and have some open dialogue on this. That's all.
And I'd like to echo that same concern, but also I'm sort of concerned and worried about Okay. So besides that, my concern is with the COVID and our reduction in taxes throughout the state, what our budget's going to be, what we're going to end up with next year. I want to see all the increases at once so we can make an educated decision to ensure everyone gets their fair increases that they deserve. And that's my concern. I want the opportunity and the available time to review everything in one big group of information so we can have some analysis of it.
Yeah. And we've been working with Baker Tilly, and I've been working the last week or so trying to get what we anticipate what DLGF is going to do with our budget based on our submittals. And I'll be bringing to you either some reductions in 2020, which then push revenue up to that, or explain to you cuts in the 21, because when I prepare our budget, I do it on resources available.
Right.
I understand what we need, but then in some cases, I want to make sure we get everything we can. So like TIF, I've got more money budget in there than we'll ever get next year. But I got all the projects in there, and including doubling up some projects from this year that at the time we were doing the budget weren't underway. So I think we're going to be able to do that. We're not going to hurt any budgets or do anything else. We're making some other changes. We've taken into account, if you will, a prediction. We had a good tax settlement in June. I anticipated another one in December. Remember in April or May, we came to you with the potential for temporary loans because we weren't sure what the settlement was going to be, but it was right on target, recognizing that most people pay their things through their escrow.
Right.
So, when you have a high escrow payment, you have a reliable settlement. Last year, we were at 98.9 or something like that, and I expect to be about the same this year based on where we're at. We're taking into account, we know that in 22, we'll start to see a reduction in the local option income taxes. And that would be the seated, which we use for different things, and we can vary with that because it's mainly for capital, and we provide some revenue for parks. And then the public safety side of it for both police and fire. So what I've done with those is basically taken a percentage and just moved all that to the general fund so that we'll always take a percentage. So if it drops, we take a percentage.
It's not going to bother you.
So that's what we're trying. I'm going through and trying to get you guys a simple primer on where we think the impacts are going to be on stuff like that. So you can make the best decision possible and not worry about, if we're what's going to happen in this particular thing. I obviously can't predict if we're going to be, I anticipate, quite frankly, we may end up being shut down again like we were earlier, but, I think we'll end up okay.
Good.
So I understand your pain.
Any other comments?
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Tom, I had a question about the trees that were removed on the medians on Calumet Avenue.
Yeah.
What's the plan? What's going to happen there?
Putting more trees in the parkway. We had, as part of the
beautification.
Well, both Harrison and the Northgate. I couldn't think of what's Fillmore and everything else. For every tree we take down, we put 2 up. And a lot of people don't want the extra tree. So they give it to us, and this year we're putting them on the parkways and stuff like that. So they should be going on now.
Okay. That's gonna be those will be planted this fall?
I would hope so.
Okay, next question is about the demolition of the old fire station number 2. Are we on track to get that done when the new station opens?
Well, I think you have to make it, well, when the new station opens and we get in, it'll be in the middle of winter probably. And then it'll be a question of how do you want to dispose of the other station? But that's the plan. But I don't have anybody lined up to take it down because I don't know when that'll occur. But it's just a matter of we'll put out for bid. I've had people request, somebody called me, a builder called me and wanted to know if we would be interested in a possibility of somebody coming in and reskinning the building and reusing it. And I said, it's not our preference at this point in time, but you have to make a decision. But the plan is and the same with the landscaping and the irrigation, that'll all be done in the spring.
Okay.
I think before we tear it down, I think we had mentioned we may let either the fire department or the police department have it for some time for some training.
Well, we do that all the time, but it's not like it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Have any and all?
Yeah, Mary.
Yes.
To go back to the salary ordinance, when I brought this all before you, it was because based on the raises, the council said that each individual department head, which I'm not an elected official, is the treasurer for you. So I just want to make sure that the residents know that. A lot of them have been calling to say they can never hear you, we never see you. And I said, well, that's just COVID right now.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else? You have a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
We will move on to the redevelopment meeting, commission meeting of November 11th, 2020. We did the call to order, pledge of allegiance, roll call, and citizen input for the redevelopment. Hi, Neil.
Good evening.
Any citizen input? Hearing none. Next, we have a consent agenda that consists of the minutes of the September 16, 2020 Redevelopment Commission meeting and claims totaling $741,356.24. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
You have a second? Any discussion?
Yeah, I guess we could vote on these separately, even though the motion was made together. The minutes, I'll have to abstain from the minutes, but I'm still allowed to aye or nay the claims, correct?
Yeah, just acknowledge you're abstaining from
Yes.
the minutes.
Got it.
Roll call?
Aye.
Abstain from the minutes, aye for the claims.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have general orders, old business, fire station number 2, change orders numbers 4 and 5.
Yeah.
You have a motion to approve the change order number 4 and 5.
I'll make a motion to approve change order number 4 in the amount of $660 and number 5 in the amount of $15,583.68.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Next, we have fire station number 2 update, 3-week schedule.
That's all that it is. It's just-
Okay. Do we have any kind of a plan for a grand opening or anything like that, or dedication? We'll just wait till it's finished.
Let's wait till it's finished. And
Okay.
let's wait till we're moved in.
It just looks so
Because
cool.
Hassie leaving and us being ready to move in, there may be 30 days or so from there. I mean, we're
Okay.
getting equipment ordered and stuff like that. And as I've said, you're going to have the outside's going to be, other than a sea of concrete, you're not going to have any grass or anything else.
I will say that Art and Heidi Morgan checked in with me the other day, and they had some really good accolades about the new station, the way it looked. So since they've been in here since the,
You got to show up here and make those same accolades.
I
This is
know,
not
I
his
know.
backyard.
Things that he said.
I thought that was very nice of them to call though. Central Park
You usually get the
concessions,
second part.
Yeah. the Geocon.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
doing
the soil
Gen Con.
stuff. This is the soil engineering and stuff like that. I was gonna make a comment. You approved 2 change orders on the fire station, which directly result of these guys. I was very pleased at the small amount of bad soil that we found out there,
Good.
given that area was, unprepared. So you notice we had a unit price for doing it. So we were just cutting out what we needed, but they've been on the ball. They're out there every time. They're proof rolling and pouring concrete. And I get emails, 4 or 5 emails a week from them with the tests. So
Do you need a motion on that or not?
yeah, you approved this contract.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the Geocon proposal number 20-P4677?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
And the contract is for $8,500.
Not to exceed based on their
Yeah.
services. So if there's anything more, we'll come back, but it shouldn't. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Aye.
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 Aye. New business. Initiation of property acquisition for the 2-stage ditch project. Part of stormwater.
Well, stormwater is, you've agreed to pay for these properties.
Yes.
We're going to get started on the project. So at this point, we're going to initiate we asked you to initiate the appraisals.
Correct.
We start this whole process. Now, what Adam and I have to do is get these parcels of property and a couple other ones put into the economic development plan, which requires a little process, but that's before we spend the money. So
And that's 4 properties.
these 4 properties here.
Okay.
Which is why we haven't written letters to people telling them, well, we might buy your property. We'll get it. Adam will be sending them a letter
Okay.
following the eminent domain
Mm-hmm.
process. Let me give you just a couple of words about eminent domain. And the people will say it's condemnation and everything else. The reason you do it under the threat of condemnation is because then, as I'm the owner, I get some tax protections if the government authority does it. So it's in that best interest. Most of the time, we end up with a mutually agreeable decision, but agreement. We don't have to go to court or do anything
Sure.
else. And then you just pass the ordinance under the threat of condemnation and eminent domain. And then when it comes time to do my income taxes, I save on my capital gains. So
Good.
it's always a good deal. We're not doing the yellow book, which is that'll take us a year and cost us a hell of a lot more money. But this is the local acquisition. And most of these people are well aware of the fact that we're going to buy it.
Yeah, they are.
So if you give us a motion to that effect, and we'll come back to you with, the next action, which will be the choir.
And I would just add for anyone who's listening, this is your right as a government entity to do this. The only protection the property owner has comes from the Constitution, where they get compensated for it. There's no protection against the condemnation that you're provided. You just got to pay them for it, and that's what this process is for. And as Tom mentioned, the state process is significantly different and much easier than the
Yeah.
federal process.
I need a motion to authorize the engagement of Jeff Vale and Thomas Boknowski to perform appraisals for the following properties: 2204, 2208, 2212, and 2203 Hart Street.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
So just so I'm clear.
Yeah.
We're doing the appraisals, and once we get the appraisals, it'll come back to the RDC.
Yeah, well, what you do is you're going to offer the average of the 2 appraisals. And once you accept that, then really it becomes a legal process that we go
make
through.
the offer, and then they can either accept it or challenge it in court.
You get the average of the 2 appraisals.
And what the challenge is, again, it's just over the amount. It doesn't change the
Yeah.
fact that you get the property.
They go to court. There's a whole new appraisers. There's 3 appraisers
Yes,
this
and the
time.
court appoints one we nominate, one they nominate,
Okay.
one those 2 nominate, and then those are admitted as evidence, and the court makes an determination.
The 2 appraisers we've been using for many, many years are good appraisers. They're very well
They are.
versed in this kind of a thing, and they're good witnesses. I've used them both.
Well, and I can say, in private practice, I've used both of these.
Yeah.
That's what I
Mhm.
go to.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
Aye. Any and all? Hearing none. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, voice vote.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have work study. We have 2 items on work study. We have solid waste recycling fee and the updated 2020-2021 seated plan.
This is what you were talking about?
Right.
Okay.
I had requested this, the solid waste fee be put on a study session. For the bigger picture of the residents are going to have several monthly and annual via the tax increases, property tax increases next year. I think there's certain things that we can insulate them from, certain things we may not be able to insulate them from. Knowing that last year we had an increase of, I think it was 4% plus
There was a 4%, which was fairly
Right.
small. And
Right,
it was
and
less-
then we also covered the recycling.
There was
increase.
the implementation of a recycling charge.
Right.
That lasts for a whole year. Now, this contract isn't up till February.
Right.
So we'll continue where we're at until February, and then everything. and we'll get a new recycling charge that will then go for the next 12 months. So we don't know what those answers are.
Yeah, we don't know where the recycling is going these days, do we? Whether that's going to be.
No, and they said that could go up a buck.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Well,
yeah.
and it could stay the same.
Right.
But I mean, I think I don't know when it goes up high enough that people say stop recycling, because recycling is still very popular, and people don't understand that it's economically not as feasible as it used to be back in the day. But getting people to change that mindset, which is positive.
And I looked at it from the through the lens of, if I'm at the store and someone pulls me aside and says, "Hey, why did my monthly bill go up?" This is explainable. It's not a gray area. I'll be the first to admit we still have some fees that I'm fuzzy on, but this one here, for the same reason, gas isn't $1 and milk isn't 25 cents. The increase is relatively small. I think in the increase in 2019 was 35 cents. I think it was small. And so I think if we just pass through that cost, I think they were looking at $2 increase.
Less than that, I think. But
so we, knowing that the water bond and the park bonds, the geo bond won't hit them. Water bond, park bond will hit them. We don't know what Hammond's going to look like. And we have yet to even discuss what, if any, of our utility fees are going to go up. We can control those internally. This is an external cost that we're just the middleman for. And that's my reason behind that. Again, as we talk about the stormwater fee, hydrant fees, those are internal things that we have some control over. But this is, if we continue to insulate the residents from this is going to be money that comes from other places.
Yes.
When we already know, we're going to have some expense issues. That was why I wanted on the study session, just to bring that up to see what the flavor of the council was.
And I think the concern was, at one point we had a big jump in our fees, and people said, don't do that, little by little, incremental.
That was for the utility fees.
Yeah, but any fees at all, they'd rather have.
We've tried to avoid this year.
You're right.
And we're still working to get them down as low as we possibly can.
Correct.
But I'll tell you, all three utilities, the majority of the increase is based on the capital side of it.
Yes.
And now that's not even, we haven't even included the pass through for the Hammond, what ultimately Hammond ends up with.
Right. Or
because that's a direct pass through.
Sure.
Well, yeah, because it comes through them. But in last year when we did this, we started to erode the impact and the value of the $3 local fee. You got to understand that local fee takes care of brush and leaves and all kinds of other stuff, is the personnel that go with it. And we're able to squeeze out. We used our recycling money, which we normally use to pay for equipment. So, but you can see, but the cash value in the fund has gone down. So it's important that we keep that going. And I think this is what we're talking about doing, is what we have done for many, many years. When the contract went up, it's a pass-through plus that $3 fee. I think we did that $3 fee. We kicked it up maybe in 17 or something like that, because it was supposed to have gone up earlier and it didn't go up the way it should have. So we lost money.
Yes.
And it put the fund in some jeopardy and stuff like that. So.
And that's not to say I won't fight tooth and nail for some of the other fees to be reduced, but this one here, like I said, as an external service from the town, I think it's reasonable. And two, we still always have that option if the 4% is really nominal on that $20. If the recycling gets too high, then at some point we can go back to the residents and say, is this something you still want to do?
Yes. Maybe a popular thing.
And that's more rhetorical, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I've thought about it quite a bit too. I'm just concerned about, it's a small amount on that increase, but we're talking about a small amount on another increase and another. And if we have one utility bill that's added all together, and all those small ones going to add up to something significant.
Well, and I'll have that ready for you.
I-
We've got time. Like I said, this doesn't go into effect until February. And I just wrote myself another note that we're looking at, in the rate studies, we talk about a benchmark bill. And typically they use 4,000 gallons, but you can do it whatever you want. You know, storm is per unit. It's residential units. It's a flat fee. So you'll have all that kind of stuff as you go about doing it. Then you can make decisions. But as I said before, the majority of the rate increase is primarily for capital
Utilities. Yep.
projects and stuff. And that's
So I
That's
get
the
it
trick
now.
bag.
I will finish my statement before I forget it now.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. No, we need to look at the totality of all these possible increases. As of right now, we have none of that information. And I'm not one to start looking on passing more ordinances or increases without having all the full information in front of us in a timely basis, providing us with the opportunity to discuss it, debate it, figure out what the best options are. And right now, I don't have all that information. So I'm waiting to see it. And once we get it, I'm going to go through and we're going to figure out what every possible increase may occur. And I don't know about the taxes, but they seem to go up every year around here. So that's just another increase on the residents. We have residents that are concerned because they're on a fixed income. Some have not been working as much because of the COVID or the slowing down of the economy. I just want to take everything in consideration. But this is a good point to start the discussion. We need to have that discussion. But I don't want to move forward until we have all the information so we can make an educated decision.
Any other comments? Let's take a look at the seated plan. One thing that I really wanted to see an increase is the Lake County Community Services. And I don't know exactly precisely what they're going to be asking this year because of COVID. But I do know that all the dialysis people have been transported back and forth through COVID. They've managed to keep everybody on schedule. And if we could have Blossom in here, maybe December, January, to give us a rundown of
I mean,
of their
basically
services.
we reimburse them for the Dyer residents they serve.
Right. Okay.
And that's been about
That's fine.
5,000. And it may go up. And I can rework that
Okay.
to give it a little bit more latitude rather than a dollar amount. As I was going through this, you know, the conversation about the safety village came up.
Right.
And we talked about, let's get it decided early. So
Yeah.
it's there. Tell me what
Okay.
you want to do.
Okay. But I know she's very good about coming in to discuss this, so. Anybody else have any discussion?
What do you want to see for the safety village? And
I thought we were going to have a meeting and discuss the possibilities of either setting aside out of the budget a dedicated amount.
well,
for
that's
all
what you're
these.
doing right here.
Yeah. And this is all of them?
Pardon?
Is this all of the ones that come before us?
These are the two that you principally, oh, you're talking about the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about the other stuff. I haven't included that, and I can include the line for that. No, these are the two specific ones that we have funded previously. That's why I specifically put them in there. I should add, because this is just an amendment. What I'll do is I'll broaden it a little bit. We call it like social service grants or something like that. And then you guys decide how you want to do it. But these are the two that you specifically have been asked in the past for a set dollar amount. And they're more kind of continuing. Anything coming new, whether it's 500 or 5,000, that would be a discretionary thing.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
But I'll put some language in there for that. What do you want to do about safety?
Tom, there's flexibility. So this is what we're sending to the county auditor.
I'll refile this as an amendment to our plan.
Mhm.
They don't care how you spend the money as long as you fit within the statute. They just want to have something on record. So we sent them the original plan last November, December. This will be an amendment because we did make some changes this year.
Right.
but it'll be in the
And as
line.
more changes come up, as finances change, we still have flexibility here.
Sure.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Yes.
Bob reminded me of something. Tuesday afternoon, I get a resident call and ask about boards and commissions. If you guys are going out for applications, boards and commissions. I'm like, I don't know, but I will ask.
Well, we have, I don't know if you got a copy. We sent
We did.
everybody whose thing is out, do you want to be reappointed? They have until, I think it's the 20th.
Sure.
And then we'll report that back to you, and then that'll give us enough time in the December newsletter. We have
Okay.
any vacancies.
And
Okay.
that's something the council normally discusses every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
As
But
a
we got to
council, we'll
first
take
get,
care of
you
that.
want in or out. So I would, my response, my answer, I guess I would say is have them fill out an application. We always take applications.
And Tom sent out some information, with COVID. Can we put this into a policy for the town? So we have a policy, or are we just going by what's, what was sent out to us?
You should have a written policy.
It is a written policy, but I'll have that adopted for the next go around.
But I just feel that the council should adopt it this way we have it.
Okay. We still need a rundown of, we need to plan our meetings for the rest of the year.
Well, I think what the plan is, how many meetings a month do you want to have? Our board graciously decided to cut it down. I mean, I'd rather be here for a couple of hours once a month
Correct.
on a regular basis and do just like we did tonight. And if we have to have a second meeting, we can do that.
Yeah.
But our regular meeting is scheduled for the 9th and
Oh,
Bob,
you're just talking through the end of the year.
Yeah.
okay.
Next year, I mean, I'm done with my teaching commitment at Christmas time. So then if you want to go back to Thursdays or want to stay on Wednesdays, whatever you
Okay.
guys want to do, just decide what night.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No, but I don't remember. Did we ask for electronic questions for the last?
I was just going to ask
Yeah.
that of
Okay,
Frank.
thank you.
I was just going to do that.
Yeah,
Any-
I've been checking periodically here, and we haven't received any, and we have not yet received any. So
Okay. Thank you.
at the public comments at townofdonna.com email.
Is anybody still awake watching? Besides Alan.
Scott's still there.
Scott's still
Alan
there.
and Scott, well, yeah, Alan and Scott are still there.
Tell them he can go home.
Okay. Thank you very much for participating, everybody that is here. We're finished.